Mining acted as a catalyst for the growth and expansion of the United States as it drove thousands of pioneers westward for the prospect of riches. Wherever there was gold, there would be people, boomtowns, and industry. Mining built this country. Then came war. During World War II, mines across the U.S. were shut down, and miners were sent to aid in war efforts, most never to return. The significance of mining in our history was abandoned with those mines. Current advancements in technology make mining easier and more accessible than ever. So why aren't more people doing it? It's simple. We've forgotten. We've forgotten how mining created cities, industries, and economies. It created millionaire moguls from small-time miners. It created grit and determination that defined the hard-working American striving for the American dream.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today, there are hundreds of thousands of abandoned mines across the U.S. waiting to be worked again. At Gold Rush Expeditions, we are dedicated to keeping mining history alive and reminding the world that mining is still a valuable and profitable endeavor. Mining built this country. Elorn is likely one of the most productive but undervalued mines in all of the western states. The old gold and silver mine is documented to have over 14 miles of drifting and workings on at least 3 well-defined levels.
So we are inside the Elorn mine. We're in Montana. I'm in my first drift that comes off to the right. So we've probably come in about 200 feet into the added entrance, and then we've taken a right into this drift. As you can see, maybe not, I'm wearing big, tall irrigation boots because it is wet in this mine. But the amount of quartz and pyrite and gold is amazing.
It is one of the largest gold mines ever to be seen in Montana and still contains billions of dollars in reserves of gold, silver, and copper. The Elorn is a mine of rich values and history.
Whole lot of history and a whole lot of mine up here. Mine is the key piece.
Prior to 1882, the transporting and processing of ore was very difficult. Ore was transported by wagon to Utah, then by train to California, and finally by ship to Swansea, Wales, where it could be smelted. In the early 1900s, a railroad was completed to facilitate transportation of the valuable ore from the Elorn.
So what I've got here, which there's not a lot of up top, is a piece of rail out of the upper Elorn here. This thing is huge. You can see it's small, but it barely moves.
In 1893, the price of silver crashed. and many mines in the area, as well as the Elkhorn, were closed. A majority of those mines never recovered from the crash, but not the Elkhorn. The Elkhorn was reopened in the early 1900s when the Adana vein was discovered. This vein became the major producer for the mine. The mine and camp can be broken down into two main sections. The upper camp, where the Adana vein is located, and the lower camp, where the old mill, haulage tunnel, and the ghost town of Coolidge sit. The Elkhorn was a major producer in its time, yielding over 52,000 tons of ore. Could these claims be responsible for the next mining billionaire in the United States? Only time will tell.
You can't really get an appreciation for the desolation of what is out here without being out here. There's probably very few people that understand it when you don't see people for days and you see the work of miners of time gone past that is really the history of our entire American culture. To find one that is intact like this and that everything is open and ready to work and, you know, ready to make some new history while preserving what is left here is just super cool. This is a boiler. This is the same thing that you see on steam trains of the era. This is exactly what was used. In fact, we've seen these used for steam trains or taken off steam trains and used here. This would power everything by steam that was going on here. There's another boiler here that's fully concreted in. Let's continue on. This room was used to store their core samples. As you can see, there are core samples all over the ground. What is a core sample? A core sample is something that came around a little later in mining, and basically you would go down with a large diamond drill. You'd punch a big hole with a round bit like this, and that would bring all the rock up and out. That way you could see in those big cylinders of rock that you'd get out, kind of what kind of ore you were going to punch through, what you were looking at, where veins were. Core samples are really not going to be worth too terribly much unless they are shot full of gold, and if they're shot full of gold, chances are the miners took them off. Next is going to be the heart of your mine, as it were. This is what made everything go. So you can see, anybody recognize what this is? What's that? Oh, look at that. It's an old mechanical fuel pump. We've talked before a little bit about how miners would bring cars up and then just use them to power what they were doing, power their winch, power whatever. This is an old flathead 4 motor. 1, 2, 3, 4 cylinders. Flathead, hence why it was called a flathead 4 motor. They left the transmission in place, put a U-joint right here, and connected it up to run their winch. You can see this. Well, let's see if we can engage a clutch here. So with this, you would have probably had a first, second, maybe third and fourth, but they actually utilized this transmission for speeds for this winch, which is totally rad. This is cut directly out of the car, no other modification. You've got a gas pedal here, and you've got a clutch where that was somewhere in here. The spring is still there, but that would have given you your power. You've still got the gauge here from the old car that was cut right in, which will give you all your oil pressure, your temperature, everything else. Super cool. You've got the winch here, you've still got a brake. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
And I'm here in the lowest of the Strawn mines. This is the first one we found, one of the most intact sites we've ever seen. Now, people say mines are dangerous. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, they can be. So I'm coming through a little passage here. You can kind of see it's gotten a little bit sketchy. So my thing is, I'm not touching anything. I don't want anything to come down on top of me. So I'm going nice and slow, watching every step, making sure that absolutely nothing is going to move out of its place. And look at that, no problems coming through. As you can see behind me, they've actually stoped this area. They found the ore, they chased it, they dug a little section, they drilled a hole back there, figured it's not going anywhere else, and continued on down this direction.
Howdy. Still up here at the Strawn mine. We were just getting into some of the upper workings, but found something here that is few and far between to ever see, even inside a museum. Drill bit, standard, newer type. You can see the screw on the end, so probably 40s, 50s. badass pry bar made out of a drill bit. This little piece we've got here, you can see we've got some brass fittings and some zerkings. It appears to be some sort of drilling type mechanism. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it worked in conjunction with this winch over here that you can see would run down, and it may have been shooting up to the mine up here, may not. You got a newer stand that they mounted it on. This is probably a 1970s, 1980s stand, but the machinery they were using back then would definitely work, you know, for 100 years. This right here, if you can see, says Hercules power. That puts you at probably a 30s, 40s era engine there. And that is the one and the same, the very Hercules that makes the rocket boosters, all that type of stuff. Yeah, just some really cool stuff that you'll probably never see again. So, awesome.
The Strawn Mine is located in Bell Canyon, several miles northeast of Twin Bridges, Montana. In the 1930s, the mine was owned and operated by J.E. Strawn, who developed the mine, creating 3 adits connected by several stopes and raises. The Strawn Mine is an active gold mine in a remote and nearly roadless area. It was discovered in 1921 and produced at least 1,600 ounces of gold before 1942.
Hi, Corey with Gold Rush Expeditions. We're here today inside the Keystone mine. Now, I'm talking in a little bit of a hushed tone because what we're in is a very old mine, and it's also a lot of oxidized rock and iron, so the less disturbance you get from, like, you know, even vocal reverberations is the better. Lots of old cut timber, all this stuff was taken in locally, super cool, and we've got this massive gold vein that we've been walking for probably the past 200-300 feet. We've seen writings from 33, 39, 40, and 49. So right before the War Act and right after. You can see right here, gold vein, gold vein. You can see there's some little flecks of gold in here. What you can see on that wall is a big fat gold vein. That's what that big piece is. That's what they were working. It kind of shows you what they're looking for. There's also this wide vein that is right underneath them that you can see the quartz in. I have not seen a lot of gold in this, but the dark colors indicate there's a lot of stuff going on in it, so it might just be really small gold that's in there. Let's scoot down a little farther. So that's all what we've got here. You can see all this stacked up, all behind this timber. So you might ask yourself, what is this? Why did they not take it out? We've got numerous drifts that shoot up and go out to the surface. We'll follow these. So look how much they've stacked up here. And then maybe say to yourself, why would they do that? Why would they stack all that up? Well, there's various reasons, but my guess is right now that this is all a lot of blocked up stuff that is ready to ship. They just need to find a place to ship it. If you look up this, you'll see this goes right up and out. We saw 2 of these shafts up top that we thought were air shafts. I think they're air/escape shafts. So very cool, cut right on the hard rock, and you can see the rock work where they stacked all the ores up going up it. Super cool. So this one that we're coming on is pretty sexy. They're cut right on the face of the rock here, call it a fault if you will. You've got a solid rock base to this, and then it runs all the way out and up to the surface. Now, it's super short. It's like, what, maybe 2.5, 3 feet tall, and maybe 2 feet wide, which, yeah, you're not gonna be mining in it, but if some shit goes down and this collapses, you're goddamn well gonna scoot your ass up there and be way happy about it. Look at that rock work going all the way up each side. Look how flat it is, all the way down. That is some real cool pride in your work there too, to get all that flat. If you walk over here, each one of these little black dots made by a carbide lamp represents a car, of some sort coming out. So this could have been cars of muck, this could have been cars of ore, could have been cars of various things, but they've separated it and marked for each one that's come out. I've also got a bunch more markings up here that were made. So they obviously shipped a lot out of that level. So this is things that are fun. So we have another escape. Probably they were pushing ore here and there up these as well. But what's fun is look right up here. Some industrious little pack rat has taken one of the miners' little old burlap sacks there, and over the years has filled it up with bunches and bunches of grass, and now has this like luxe condo that overlooks the air chute. He's got the shit going on there. It's awesome. How's your focus on that? When they say there's no more gold left out there, and then you find little veins of it with little pieces all through it, it's, yeah, kind of hard to deny that.
Is that pure gold?
It's not pure gold. You've got some pyrites, which you can see are going to be your flat edges. And then you've got your gold, which is going to be your soft little malleable pieces, which you can see like, so I'm going to point right here. That little bit right above my finger is going to be gold because it's not a big flat crystal. Today we are in Oregon. We are today here at the Motherload mine. Basically this is a gold / cinnabar mine. If you don't know, cinnabar, which you get mercury out of, is very red. It's sometimes called the bloodstone. It forms along with gold quite often. And while there was a little bit of mercury that came out of this, the majority of what came out of this was gold. That's the only real reason that you see people building big buildings like this to smelt off a little bit of mercury, is because they've made money out of gold. So we're gonna walk through this entire site, show you everything. Here we go. These ovens would have been used to heat up the cinnabar to get the mercury out of it, and the mercury would come down to the bottom of the pan here. So you got the pans. And I've never seen anything like this one before. It's really awesome. I'm interested in is what's in here, because it's a good sized building. Obviously, know they were cooking stuff. It may have just fired all in here, and then this may have been places to feed it. I'm not sure. That's awesome. So we've got patent applied for Acme Machinery Company, Frankfurt, New York, USA. So it looks like basically just a little shaker. This would be more for the cinnabar. There is good cinnabar and gold ore just sitting right here. And you can tell right here that this was running because there's powder cord right here. Well, it looks like this piece has, looks like it's fallen off of that.
Was it a platform that went from here to there?
Actually, I think that might have been it, yeah. It came all the way up and went straight over. Wow. There's some
Those ball things?
bitchin' old retorts over there, yeah. Yeah, so those would cool the mercury and then capture it. You can see them running up and down. That's badass. So this is probably our main little boiler / retort. This was turning, and I don't know enough about how this stuff was actually processed to speak to what it does, but it is nothing short of just stunningly cool. All the old bolts, most of what you're looking at is 1960s, 1970s stuff, but the valves, all the parts, amazingly, amazingly beautiful. Oh. Beautiful. So all these would have been used in the cooling of the mercury. So I know once you get mercury, you heat it up, you turn it into a vapor, and then you cool it off because that vapor is the pure mercury. So if you cool the pure mercury, then you can fill it with flasks. Man, Pacific Foundry and Metallurgy Company. You can still see all the grind marks from where these were built. Super cool. I mean, this is there's two trains of thought. One is that, you know, you want to preserve this for historical, but the other is that it's a mine, and the basis of what all this, there's no purpose for this to be here unless there's a mine to go underground that you can find the minerals and utilize this. These guys didn't come out and go, look at this cool thing that we'll build in the future. They were actually mining and working, and this was something that they needed out here. Very, very cool. Super epic site.
The Buckeye mine is an incredibly rare find, being that the mine is in great condition and it may or may not be haunted. The Buckeye was featured on the TV series Ghost Mine, but was referred to as the Crescent Mine.
This is a really nice timbered entrance. Somebody's really put some time and effort into shoring this whole thing up. Nice little workstation in the front. Still lots of water in here, but it's running, which is a good sign. Stagnant water is not as fun. And look at this, a beautiful gate. So you can actually secure up this mine and keep other people from getting into it. So first things that I noticed about this mine, we have a lot of iron, which iron and gold run together, so that's a really good sign. Another thing, we are just outside of the town of Sumter, which have had huge historical placer mining done down there, lots of dredging. The thing about placer mining is that the gold did not originate down in those stream beds. The gold actually originated higher up on the mountain, like in a mine like this, and with the snowfall and the rainwater, everything runs downhill into those streams. Most likely, some of that gold from Sumter came from this Buckeye mine right here. Looks like this was probably the powder room, would be my guess. The powder room's where they kept all their dynamite and their blasting caps and things like that, so that they were separate from where they were working on the mine and didn't have any accidental explosions. Man, this mine is so cool. Some of these have broken away, but there's also no soft rock up there. It's pretty exciting. The amount of metals and mineralization that I see in here is the best that I've seen in Oregon yet. This is incredible. And not to mention, the road up here was not too bad. What is that? That is so super shiny right there. It's like pure galena. There's gotta be some gold in that piece right there. So we've just come from the deep depths of the mine down yonder. Give you a little bit of light. From right now, I can see that we've come at least 100 feet. This thing is huge. It was a huge producer just by seeing the mine camp outside. Gold was discovered originally around here in about 1863. And I would imagine that this mine started at or around that time, but it was most recently worked in the 1980s. All I really know about this mine is that it was mined for gold. But I'm seeing a lot of signs of like lead and silver in here as well. There's definitely iron. Gold and iron are going to run together. I have a beautiful vein on top of me here. And the rock is super soft, which says it's not going to be super difficult to get it out. It's a beautiful day to be out at your mine. Wouldn't you rather be mining than sitting behind your desk right now, being your own boss, making your own money, pulling gold out of the ground? I know I would. Oh wait, that's what I'm doing. We've just finished exploring this extremely cool claim. Mined for gold, and gold is awesome.